Good afternoon, everyone. Okay. Name is Bill Generett, born and raised here, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Very proud of that. I've seen this city come up from the ashes, literally. Now we're a city that's known for our world-class healthcare system, incredible universities, innovation and technology, and it's something I'm proud of. One thing I'm not so proud of is that we're the least diverse city in the least diverse region of a city or a region of our size. Growing up here, I didn't know that. I was fortunate. I was raised in a family that valued diversity, they valued inclusion, and they valued it for a reason. Both of my parents grew up in the Deep South, Birmingham, Alabama, the time it was known as Birmingham, Alabama, and Denmark, South Carolina. They didn't have class with a white person until they both went to graduate school. My father to attend the University of Pittsburgh to get his medical degree, and my mother to attend Indiana University in Indiana. And so they knew the damage that was caused by segregation, and they wanted to make sure that that was not imparted on their kids. So I traveled, and I was fortunate. I was able to interact with people of different races, religions. But this quote, this Martin Luther King quote, was really a quote that my parents lived and that they made sure that we lived by. And so needless to say, I consider myself to be a very worldly, progressive person. Went to Morehouse College, majored in political science, but minored in Spanish, and I had the opportunity to travel and stay in Mexico, so thought I understood being progressive. I thought I understood being inclusive. Well, for me, that was challenged. In my senior year of college. At the time, the CEO of one of the big Japanese automotive manufacturers said some pretty disparaging comments about African Americans, and that wasn't the first time. So I said to myself, if I ever got the opportunity, the chance to travel to Japan, I would, because I would learn as much as I could about that culture and what produced some of the insular commentary that came out of it. So fast forward 5 years from that time, I got the opportunity to go to Japan. And I was excited because I was saying to myself, you know what? I could write a New York Times bestseller. I can write an expose. So I got the opportunity to go to Japan with my wife to spend a year teaching English. And at first I was hoping that I'd get the opportunity to go to Tokyo or Osaka, one of the big cities. Well, found out we were going to Shimabara, Japan. Shimabara is a city with 50,000 people, and it is in the country. But I really began to get super excited because I said, wow, this is going to give me more content for my book. Because when I talked to the people that were in charge of the program, they said, Bill, are you and your wife going to be okay? They said, this is not Tokyo or Japan. They said, in Shimabara, you're probably going to be the first African American that many of the residents have seen. And I thought to myself, of course, we'll be real happy. And I thought, you know what, it's going to be a tough year, but I'm going to have this New York Times bestseller. And so when we got to Shimabara, I was even more excited, because we flew into Tokyo first, but then we ended up taking a train to Shimabara. And right when I got out of the train station, I saw this castle. It's called Shimabara Castle. Wow. You look at it, and this is hundreds of years old, and it really is a symbol of old Japan. So I began to have views. I said, wow, I just read Memoirs of a Geisha. And I said, you know what? Wow, I'm really going to have to brace myself. And this is going to be tough because it's going to be a great learning experience, but not going to be comfortable, Within a week, I realized there would be no bestseller. And I realized there'd be no bestseller because very quickly, even though there were big differences, huge differences. I'm a 6'4" African-American male. My wife is 5'4". By American standards, short. Well, she's the average height of the average man in Japan. So there were racial differences, there were size differences, there were food differences, but immediately I felt the humanity. I felt the warmth. Couldn't speak Japanese. Many of the people I interacted with, they couldn't speak English. We would be around the table and there'd be dead silence. I would eat things that I didn't necessarily know what they were, and so it was tough, but I realized there would be no bestseller. 6 months into it, not only did I realize there would be no bestseller, I realized that I was making friends, real friends. And so I moved from uncomfortable to enjoyment. About 9 months into it, I realized not only did I have friends, I had family. And so as I went through this process, I realized that humanity, that's what binds us. So one of the main lessons that I learned is that no matter where you feel you are on this progressive index, make sure you push past your tribe. Because there's nothing wrong with acknowledging that we're all in tribes, right? There's nothing wrong with celebrating the good aspects of your tribe, but push past your tribe. And for me, pushing past my tribe has helped me to live a life that is more full. So one of the things that I loved about my experience in Japan is that for the next 6 or 7 years after I came back, I had a stream of family members coming to visit me. And that was because I pushed past my tribe. So second lesson, be curious. Not the surface level curious, because we all have that, right? But that curious that makes you uncomfortable, that curious that takes you and puts you in situations that you never thought you would be in. And my wife and I did that. So we got married June 15th, after we had dated for 6 months. Well, July 1st, we were off to Japan. And boy, we were uncomfortable. But now today we will say that was the best thing that we could have ever done. But for me, in terms of challenging my stereotypes, challenging my progressive misconceptions, it helped me as a person. And so in terms of being curious, in terms of the work that we do, we work to help entrepreneurs be curious, push past the boundaries that are often out there. Barbara Struthers, entrepreneur, she was a security guard, making $11,000 a year. Helped her push past her boundaries so she started her own business. First year, she grossed $150,000 in business. Hasn't been easy. She's fighting. There have been ups and downs, but she hasn't gone below making $30,000, $40,000 a year versus the $15,000 that she was making. That's because she was curious. Next, expand your scope. And I say this as somebody who had gotten a little cocky because, like I said, the world was my oyster. I grew up and was raised in a family and environment where I was always told to expand my scope, and I always did. But I realized that in my life, and what I try to impart to everybody is expand your scope always and continuously. And we really work to do that with our youth by providing them with incredible internship experiences in industry sectors that they never imagined that they could be in. So expand your scope. And if we do that, then we can create the world that we need to create. Because unfortunately, what we have today is we have a lot of evil forces, and these are evil forces that are telling us that we need to unite around all of the negative aspects of our tribes. And if we're going to defeat those evil forces, we got to focus on humanity. Thank you.